Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. You might remember a couple of weeks ago we made a video about all the celebrity breakups that seem to be happening this year, and this video is going to be in addition to that list. Today we're going to be talking about the entire relationship timeline between Sophie Turner and Joe Jonas from their engagement to their messy divorce. Now, just for a little context, you may recognize these two for different reasons. Joe Jonas is one of the Jonas brothers, as well as the lead of a rock band named DNCE. Sophie Turner is a successful actress best known for her role as Sansa Stark in HBO's Game of Thrones. So, how did this young new celebrity couple go from supporting each other through red carpets to lawsuits? Let's talk about it. So, around October 2016, it was reported that Joe slid into Sophie's DMs on Instagram after they had been mutual friends for a while. In a 2019 interview about how they met, Sophie told Harper's Bazaar that they had a lot of mutual friends who were trying to introduce them, but they weren't successful until eventually he just texted her first. During this time, Joe was on tour and so would pass through England a lot, where Sophie lived. They started to meet up, and Sophie said that they had an instant connection. She tells Harper's Bazaar, "He didn't bring security, he brought a friend, and they drank just as hard as the rest of us. I remember us two spending only a couple of minutes on the dance floor, and then we found a space in the far corner and we just talked. We talked for hours and hours and hours, and I wasn't bored. It wasn't contrived, it wasn't small talk, it was just so easy. Soon we were inseparable, and then I went on tour with him." After this, around December of 2016, the press got wind of their relationship and started reporting on it. Mind you, Game of Thrones was one of the most beloved shows on TV during that time, and Joe was on tour with Demi Lovato and his brother Nick, so they had a lot of attention on both of them. People saw Joe as kind of a player and were shocked that he settled his ways down to be with her, but he did. Fast forward to January 2017, one single post made the relationship official to the public eye. Sophie posts a photo on Instagram for New Year's Eve of 2017 of Joe riding the back of a boat with a cigar in his hand to her over 10 million Instagram followers. Fan speculation was over. It was official. On July of that year, Sophie started slowly opening up about the relationship through interviews where she said she was in a very comfortable and normal relationship that wasn't based on flashiness. She explained she did the most mundane things with him, like going out with friends, going out to eat, and spending time together at home, and that's what made her love her relationship as it was. Now, fast forward a few months in that same year, and she was engaged. Yes, in less than a year, they got engaged. They say when you know, you just know, right? Super random, but this is exactly like Trisha and Moses. Like, they got engaged and married within a year or two of dating, but shockingly, they are happier than these two are right now. In October of 2017, Joe put a ring on that finger. With an Instagram post captioned, "I said yes," Sophie shows off her new engagement ring, and Joe made a matching post captioned with "She said yes." Now, zooming past the following year, they had several public appearances together, whether it be Paris Fashion Weekend or award show ceremonies. Jump to May 2019, and the pair decided to get married in an impromptu wedding in Vegas. They were both in Vegas at the time with loads of their celebrity friends and decided to opt out of the super expensive celebrity wedding and go for a classic chapel Elvis impersonator type of wedding. Harper's Bazaar reports, among the wild details, Diplo live streams the event on his Instagram. Dan and Shay played music, an Elvis impersonator officiated, and they said their vows with ring pop wedding rings. Jonas later opened up about the night and revealed that while his brothers were there, he forgot to invite his parents. He said, "We had to get legally married in the States, so we thought it'd be really fun to get all of our friends, invite them out, and do an impromptu wedding." And we actually had some people that I didn't really even know that well there. Sophie had this to say about the wedding at the Graham Norton show.
But now you had a Vegas wedding.
I did.
We got a picture.
Oh, no.
Your wedding photographer was Diplo, is that right?
Well, we didn't choose him to be our wedding photographer. He just kind of decided to live stream it.
Well, you weren't having a big party. No?
Potentially.
Oh, no, is that a secret?
Am I the only one wondering why Diplo streamed the whole thing? Like, so random. But anyway, here she hints to them possibly having a follow-up wedding or party, and Graham was right with his guess. They decided to go for a more formal wedding later that year in June and got married again in France. Although they were already legally married, they wanted a ceremony that they could invite their closer friends and family with properly. There were many celebrity faces there, with her co-star Maisie Williams, who played Arya Stark, her sister in Game of Thrones, as her maid of honor, as well as Kevin and Nick were groomsmen for Joe at the wedding. After their gorgeous French wedding, they settled in and continued to be a quiet couple who weren't that dramatic or in the news. They had their honeymoon in Italy, where they lounged in a yacht and jet skied across the coast. During their newlywed phase, they continued to grace red carpets until rumors started when reporters spotted what could be a baby bump, and it was confirmed. They had their daughter, Willa, in July of 2020. 2 years later, in July, they had their second daughter, whose name I can't seem to find anywhere. Like, every article I search about it says second daughter without specifying the name. An article came out in Page 6 earlier this month that reported the little one's first name starts with a D, as she is mentioned as DJ in court docs obtained by Page 6. The duo's eldest daughter, Willa, 3, is listed as WJ. So now we've gone through the timeline, so let's get to what's going on now. Earlier this month, it was reported that Sophie and Joe were reportedly looking into divorce. TMZ reported that Joe and Sophie had been having serious problems for the last 6 months and noticed that neither of them were wearing their wedding rings. TMZ went on to report, sources with direct knowledge tell TMZ Joe had his people contact and consult with at least 2 LA area divorce lawyers, and he is on the cusp of filing divorce docs to end his marriage to Sophie. They also reported, we're told over the last 3 months, Joe has been caring for their 2 young children pretty much all the time, even as his band was touring. We're told Joe currently has both kids as the group plays around the US. Following this, they reported that they sold their mansion that they bought the previous year. They said that Joe has been extremely busy in the past year and had been on tour recently, and Sophie has not nearly been as active with work as she was during the peak of Game of Thrones, but he was the children's main caretaker. But anyway, following this report, it feels like Joe Jonas's PR team were doing everything they could do to absolutely bash Sophie and call her a bad mother. This Rolling Stone article titled, "Sophie Turner Isn't a Bad Mom, You're Just a Misogynist," gets into detail about this. The article details how the reporting of this story has been littered with bias, with things hinting to Sophie being a party animal and Joe sacrificing everything while Sophie was going out constantly and leaving him with the kids. Rolling Stone reports, over the course of the past few days, Jonas's PR team has presumably been working overdrive, planting seeds in the media accusing Turner of being a bad mother, without being seen actively accusing her of being one. Understanding this requires some working knowledge of how the celebrity media ecosystem works when a celebrity is in crisis, which usually involves highly paid crisis PR professionals giving tabloids information that pushes their side of the story, usually being cited as an unnamed source or a source close to the individual so as to not arouse suspicion. They added, this in and of itself is not at all that unusual. The Jonas-Turner split is far from the first messy celebrity divorce to play out in the headlines, and it won't be the last. What is somewhat unusual is the specific messaging the media, presumably with assistance from the Jonas camp, is using. That the marriage ended not because that is unfortunately what more than half of marriages in the US do, but because Turner was somehow deficient in her child-rearing duties. They went on to explain how this narrative has been overwhelming for Sophie, who is 7 years younger than her estranged husband, and that they built this whole image of her in the media to create a bias. When women take all the responsibility of child rearing and balancing their careers while raising kids, it's just another day. Yet they're trying to build this idea that Joe was a super dad because he took care of the kids. Like, what else is he supposed to do? He's their father. All of a sudden, when these things came out, he was suddenly going on outings with his daughters and was seen caring for them way more without Sophie just to build that narrative. She's currently in the UK and is not with her kids. Rolling Stone adds, there is something unnecessarily mean and pointed and angry about all the coverage of this divorce, and it seems to stem entirely from the assumption that public sympathies will naturally align with the handsome working dad over the young working mother. Rolling Stone were certainly not the only ones who felt that way, with loads of news stations covering the misogyny that has been created by Joe's PR team. Well, this isn't where it ends. Things get legal. The New York Post reports Sophie Turner has accused estranged husband Joe Jonas of refusing to let their 2 young daughters to return to their forever home in England. As the celebrity couple's divorce battle heats up, a bombshell lawsuit filed in New York Thursday shows. They go on to say that Sophie was blindsided by Joe divorcing her and says that he is keeping their children's passports, preventing them from being able to join their mom. They go on to report, as they laid the groundwork for their new life, they put up their Miami property on the market, shipped their children's belongings, and had even exchanged contracts with the sellers of a home in Henley-on-Thames in Oxfordshire, England, according to the filing. The parties were both excited for the family's move to England. In April, the court papers state. Turner claims the then couple had agreed, with some hesitation, that Jonas would take their girls with him on tour in August, given the mom of 2 was filming a new project, a TV series called Joan, in the UK. Right now, they are continuing to have their legal battle, and we will keep an eye out on what happens. But anyway, that is it for now. I'm just happy that someone noticed the biased reporting when it came to this couple, and it might start a conversation about how celebrity breakups are covered in general. What do you guys think about what Joe is allegedly doing with his PR team or keeping his daughter's passports? As always, feel free to leave this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any new tea spills from us. And for now, here is some eye bleach.